Okay, so today we're going to break down something really fascinating and, frankly, a little bit strange. It's a metaphorical letter that reads like a sinister playbook, laying out a very specific strategy targeting modern motherhood.
And right out of the gate, the core mission statement is just chillingly direct. The goal is to make it all a burden in their minds. That single sentence really sets the stage for everything we're about to unpack.
So, to really understand this playbook, let's treat it like a captured document, okay? It's written as a memo from a senior Tempter named Stoneheart to his student, Belphegora, and we're going to deconstruct their strategy piece by piece. Now, this isn't some broad general plan. No, the target is very specific, a new mother. And the mission, as the letter spells it out, is to exploit the unrelenting demands of her new role. The battlefield is literally the day-to-day grind of being a mom.
Okay, so how do they plan to do this? Well, the memo outlines a core tactic, and it has a pretty memorable name: the burden broken record.
The broken record is exactly what it sounds like. It's a message that's just hammered home over and over again. A message the memo claims is actually programmed into the cultural tides. And that message is simple and destructive: that every part of motherhood is just a terrible, heavy, horrible punishment. The goal is pretty clear: to create a victim mentality.
Now, this strategy doesn't just come out of nowhere. It actually taps into a very specific cultural value. The letter puts it bluntly: convenience is a god. The whole playbook argues that our obsession with an easy life has been used to frame children, who are, let's be honest, a lot of work, as a terrible inconvenience.
This brings us to the real heart of the conflict that this entire strategy is built on. The letter frames it as a constant battle between two opposing forces, the finite versus the infinite. And the formula behind it? It's almost shockingly simple. We push the finite in order to keep them from the infinite. That's it. The whole game is just based on that one act of substitution.
All right, so finite, infinite, what are we actually talking about here? Well, the finite is all about temporary comforts, objects, obsessions, addictions, the kind of stuff that ultimately leads to what the letter calls pervasive emptiness. On the flip side, the infinite is described as the source of faith. It's what provides true fulfillment, real power, and the ability to persevere. So the goal is to trap the mother in the finite, to make sure she never even gets a chance to access the infinite.
And the memo doesn't just talk in abstracts. Oh no, it gets super specific about what these finite comforts look like. It lists things like constantly joking about needing alcohol to cope, binge-watching trashy entertainment, impulsive online shopping, basically filling your life with, as it says, useless things that promise relief but just don't deliver.
And here's the kicker, the really insidious part. These finite fixes are designed to fail. The memo explains that the mother keeps going back to them, hoping this time will be different, but the next time is never different. This whole setup guarantees that the cycle of feeling unfulfilled just keeps on going.
So you have this relentless cycle. What's the end game here? What's the desired result? The playbook has a name for it: the cycle of sour.
And yeah, the source is really cynical here, calling it the delightful cycle. Here's how it works. First, some little inconvenience happens. That triggers the "this is a burden" message we talked about. Then, she turns to one of those finite comforts for a quick fix. What follows? That feeling of emptiness and regret. She tells herself, "I'll do better tomorrow." But then the next little snag comes along and boom, the cycle starts all over again. It's a perfect trap.
And the end goal of all this, it's not just about making a mother's life difficult. It's way more personal and honestly way more damaging than that. The stated hope is that this cycle poisons her experience so completely that, quote, her children will remember only a sour mother. The strategy is aiming to corrupt her entire legacy.
Okay, so that brings us to the real bottom line, the ultimate objective. Because all of these tactics, the broken record, the finite comforts, the cycle of sour, they're all serving one single purpose.
Every single piece of this strategy points to one primary command.
And here it is, the number one rule, the master instruction. Whatever you do, keep her from prayer at all costs. In this playbook, prayer is presented as the one thing that can break the whole system. It's the direct connection to the infinite that the entire strategy is designed to block. So when you really boil it all down, you see the real enemy isn't the pile of laundry or the sleepless nights. Those are just the tools. The real target, as the letter bluntly admits, is joyful mothers. That's what this whole operation is designed to prevent.
This source is a really dark, metaphorical playbook for one specific role.
But it does leave us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? How might these core themes, this constant tension between burden and fulfillment, or the choice between a finite fix and infinite strength, apply to other really demanding areas of our own lives? It's definitely something to think about.